Greetings, everyone. Hello. I wanted to jump on today and discuss live, and I thought about doing it as a regular video, but I thought that maybe doing it as a live video would be much better for me because then I can be completely honest and there's nothing I can edit, there's nothing I can take out. I can just be me and tell you exactly what has been going on with me. And I have been through a very, I consider it a very major process within my life. I never quite experienced a burnout. And a burnout is something that's different than depression, but it feels very similar. And I have taken like a week or so to really just take the chance to give myself some time to figure out what was going on with me and to really process what a burnout really is. Because there are millions, maybe everybody in this world will suffer from a burnout eventually. And a burnout is something that happens to a particular type of soul. What I have realized looking at TED Talks and some of the psychology on burnouts is that depression is more about kind of an overall feeling about yourself and about the world, and the burnout is actually, it's connected to your occupation and your job. And so the reason why I think that light workers experience a burnout, and that's why I'm titling it this, is because anybody that identifies with being a light worker, a starseed, an elven soul, an earth angel, an alien hybrid, any of those types of archetypes that you embody within yourself in order to give yourself a sense of purpose, an identity on earth, it can cause you to take on a second occupation on earth. Besides your earthly job that pays you money and you have to go to in an office or not in an office and you work for someone else or you work for your own self, a light worker has another type of job, and they take it on completely as a volunteer. And they say to themselves that once they had their spiritual awakening, they decided to help other souls. And that is a job. So the light worker burnout is a very real event that happens because it's an occupational hazard. And I want to read you what a burnout is in terms of the actual definition. A burnout is a state of chronic stress that leads to physical and emotional exhaustion, cynicism and detachment, and feelings of ineffectiveness and a lack of accomplishment. And it makes you quite literally feel like you have no more light inside. That's why the term burnout is very appropriate. Especially if you're a light worker, it becomes a spiritual experience, which actually heightens the experience of the stress and the anxiety and the feelings of hopelessness and sadness that I went through. And I came out of it fast only because I made sure that my state of awareness was present to understand, why am I going through this? What is this part of my life for? And what am I here to understand about going through this process? And I believe that when you can keep a state of consciousness and awareness within yourself, you can get through anything emotionally that you go through. Because you are accepting your emotions and you're trying to figure out what is the core of them. Nothing happens in randomness or without something else being a cause or a core of it. And when you can really get honest with yourself, you can see what happened to cause you to get to this place. There's a real reason why we experience burnouts. There's a spiritual reason, not only a physical reason, but for people that experience burnouts just in a very physical way, those that burn out through their jobs, It happens because they feel ineffective or unappreciated at their work. They feel like their efforts don't matter anymore. And so they lose a sense of motivation to keep going at their job because they feel like either their job doesn't appreciate them or that their work that they're putting in really doesn't matter in the long run and in the bigger picture of things. So burnout happens to individuals that no longer feel that they are an important part of whatever it is that they are joined with, a corporation or a job. A light worker will feel the same because they are part of a collective in the world. And when they are putting their efforts out there and they feel that somehow they're not as effective as they would like to be or see the results as they would want to see. And really it comes down to just being really hard and critical on themselves. If you have ever experienced a burnout, let me tell you, that is a time to appreciate the hard worker that you are. And I know it's hard to see that at the time. And I have to tell you, the first few days of my burnout were excruciating. I hated myself. I wanted to die. I wanted to leave Earth because I felt like I was not appreciated and I just didn't have what it took. And I felt lost inside and I just felt completely like I was in the wrong place and everything felt so wrong to me. And I wanted to escape. So I was dealing with some suicidal thoughts. Once again, they were coming up and they were creeping up. And I'm doing this video because I know that I'm not alone in this, and it's excruciating pain to go through. And coming out of it, I'm about 75% recharged. I feel my battery like pretty much recharged and ready to go, get back into the game. I just wanted to be honest so that I could help others in this experience because I know that it's not an isolated experience at all. And through my observations of studying burnouts, I have learned that it happens to individuals that are hard workers. Either they're hard workers at their job and they put too much of themselves into it and they don't receive enough back. And a light worker is a hard worker as a spiritual force on earth. So right there, accept that about yourself. If you cannot at that time appreciate who you are and how far you have come, that's the first step to getting better and healing from a burnout, is to realize why it is happening is because you are a hard worker. You're not a soul to be lazy and forget about your place. You remember why it is you're here, and you work really hard at any job that you enter into. And it's debilitating when you are a hard worker and those around you don't see that or don't care or start to take advantage of you. And they stop working as hard because they see that you're going to do it. And that's what a burnout is. And a burnout happens to individuals at jobs who are not appreciated for their efforts. And a light worker burnout happens when a light worker focuses too much on the outside world and forgets about themselves. And this is going to go really well with my next video about spiritual grounding, because I could not make that video on spiritual grounding techniques until I went through this experience. This was probably, I guess, the climax of my spiritual grounding experience that I had to go through. I had to get through this in order to really understand and comprehend the idea of human spiritual grounding techniques and what we can actually do to ground ourselves spiritually in this world. So that's why I went through it. And it was hard. But I'm back. I'm not going to go away as I was originally thinking during this time, because I realized a lot about myself coming through out of this experience, and I want to share with you so that you can remember this and have these tools to get through a burnout, a spiritual burnout. when your light starts to fade inside of you and you feel you have nothing left to give, and you've given so much of yourself over the years and you just don't see the results. You don't see everything that you were wishing and hoping to see in the world. And you're met with criticism and those that cannot see your efforts because of a blindness within their own hearts. And then you start to blame yourself because of the type of person that you are. You're a hard worker. So what do? You blame, you're not working hard enough. You're not good enough. So it's time to heal from that. And this is my next step so that I can get to a place where I can truly be more effective in a new phase in my own life. And I wanted to help you process through this too, so that you can become more effective as well. So why does a burnout happen? I wrote down some things that I observed about myself and about others in this world. We feel ineffective, either at our jobs or around the people that we love. Thank you for sending the virtual hug, Dallas. Back to you. We feel our efforts don't matter in the long run. So as much as we put into the company that we're with, we feel like our efforts don't really matter and our boss doesn't really recognize it and our coworkers don't really care. And it feels like the work just piles up on our shoulders. As a spiritual burnout, you feel that your efforts don't matter in the world and that everything that you have put forward in terms of light and sharing knowledge and the wisdom and the experiences that you go through and trying to help and heal others, it doesn't really matter in the long run. And that's what you start to feel. So your light starts to fade, or you feel like it is, because it's not the reality. Just because you have your feelings and your emotions, that's not reality. Because your feelings and your emotions are processes of events and moments in your life, but they don't really show you the full picture of the reality of the spiritual truth that your intuition will know. So your emotions are separate from your intuitions, even though you may feel that they come from the feelings. They really don't. So that's one thing you have to realize, is that your feelings will feel real to you, but they're not reality at all times. And there's a way that you can tell the difference. But the other thing that a burnout will cause you to feel is you feel like you really don't matter on earth anymore, whether it is in your job, your family life, your personal life, and you'll start to fade away. You'll start to detach. You'll become very cynical and very detached from earth. And this is an unhealthy detachment. This is not like the Buddhism type of healthy detachments. This is an unhealthy detachment. This is a detachment out of sadness and out of fear and out of resentment and anger. And you don't want to detach from the world in that way, because that will cause a karmic tie and bind you back to the earth, make you bound back to earth to figure out what it is you have to do to release those ties. So you want to try to come through attachment in a loving way, in a way that doesn't tie you back down to earth. But that's what happens with a burnout, is you become detached in an unhealthy way. So it feels very much like depression, where you can't get out of bed. I could not make a video. I could not learn my new computer that I got to make better videos. I couldn't do anything. This is all I can do right now because I'm at 75% of my recharge. But why it also happens is because there's a duality on Earth and in the universe. We have the black holes and we have births of stars. We have meteorite showers that destroy planets, and we have nature that brings forth water and greenery to sustain life. There's always the duality. And when you're on Earth, when you are a light worker in the spiritual sense and you want to bring forth the light, then you always have to be aware that there's going to be the opposite of you, that are going to be people who want to bring forth the darkness. And it's not because maybe they are consciously aware of doing it, but because they have to represent that duality and in the universe for you. You have to see yourself through the opposite of what you are at times. So even though you have pure intentions, good intentions, you are going to meet others on this planet that are not going to mirror the same. And that's so that you can see yourself through that reflection, but also understand where they are at too, and respect their journey and respect their spiritual awakenings as well. The duality on Earth that I recently got hit with, and what kind of started this spiritual burnout of mine, is I have been increasingly regretting my interviews publicly with the BBC and on the Wizard of Oz TV. I'm a very private person, and I did those in order to try to help others feel not alone, and to try to start something new, and to be a catalyst for this change of bringing the elven wisdom back in, and making it, you know, popular again, and how someone can live their life through this way. But at the same time, I regret it, because I put myself out there in a duality in this world where there are going to be people that are going to criticize, and there are very hateful comments on my Wizard of Oz TV, my Elvikin Living Life as an Elf video. And I should have learned never to read comments about yourself. When you become a public figure, a YouTuber, an actress, an actor, it's best to never read comments on yourself, because you are going to get both criticism and you're going to get both love. But it's hard sometimes to just see the love, because you're going to be taking the criticism as well. And so what happened to me was I got hit in the face with a ton of bricks with the duality of souls that like to be cruel to others, because simply that's where they are. You know, that's where they are. It makes them feel a certain way when they can call me ugly. It makes them feel a certain way when they can call me, you know, a wretched creature on Lord of the Rings like Gollum, which really hurts. But that's the type of world we're in. And so if a light worker has too high of expectations, and you set high expectations for yourself, you have to be fair to lower your expectations in this world, to understand and meet people where they are, and to be prepared as a light worker, to be prepared to see that duality hit you in the face, because it will. And if you're not prepared for it, you're going to start to feel ineffective and criticized, and you're going to start to have your light start to feel like it's dimming. And that's what happened to me. So over a couple of days of processing these negative criticisms about me, and seeing how, oh, she's stupid, or she's an idiot, or she's in La La Land, these are things that started to hit me on a very deep level. Not in the idea that it was more about me wanting to escape Earth, because I felt like I couldn't be appreciated here. I felt like this wasn't the right time, or this just wasn't the right place, or it wasn't really my time to come out in this way. And so that duality just really affected me deeply. So it happens to people to get burnt out when they come across the opposite of their intentions. And instead of looking at it as a lesson or as a teachable moment, you embody it. You personally believe it. You start to believe those negative comments about yourself, and you see yourself as this terrible, hideous person, and then you want to escape from that, because you feel like that's the reality. And the truth of it is, no, that's not your reality. That's their reality. And that's something that you have to be able to detach yourself from. That's really important as a light worker. And that's something that I have come across, but it really affected me this time. And I believe that Lionsgate, you know, this time is of Leo is going to do that to a lot of people. It's going to make them come up against things that are going to make them feel the weakest so that they can gain strength and really gain that courage. And it was hard. It was very tough. There are different levels of awareness of spiritual consciousness within every soul on earth. So not everybody is going to be at the same level you are in terms of your intent, in terms of your purpose. Yes, I do believe that everybody has the capability of softening their hearts and finding the love within themselves to spread and the light to spread to others. I believe in that. The reason I believe in that is because I've seen it. I've seen it in my own life, and I've seen it and observed it in the world. Forgiveness is a very powerful tool because it softens the egos of people and it allows the boundaries between people to dissolve. And then you see the person's true spirit that we're all connected to, that pure spirit. So the reason why burnouts happen is because when you go up against other people's egos, and when the borders and the boundaries are not dissolved, but they're very opaque and they're very like wall-like structure, then you're going to experience you hitting against the wall. And if a light worker keeps hitting against a wall, what's going to happen? Their energy is going to drain. Their light is going to fade, and they're going to feel like I'm not doing anything, I'm not getting through this wall. And that could be a wall in your own life with people around you. That could be a wall of society if you're a public figure and you feel like you're not really getting your messages out there. It could be anything. That wall can be anything. But what I've learned is that that wall is there so that you can learn to go around the wall, so that you can learn how to climb up the wall. It's there for you as part of your experience to strengthen yourself and to remember your origin and your core. The other thing is, the reason why burnouts happen is because you are imbalanced. And what I mean by imbalanced is that you are a service to self-oriented soul. So you make it your purpose, like your happiness, your sense of heaven on earth is to give to others, is to service others. Yes, you may serve yourself, sure. You'll go shopping, you'll buy things for yourself, but there's a sense of joy that certain souls get. And it's part of where the consciousness that they came from and what level that they came into the earth with. But there's a type of consciousness that happens with certain souls where they love to give to others. They love to heal others. Part of burnouts that I learned is that it happens in the occupations, I can tell you right now, healthcare, human services, and social activism. Those are the three places of the most occupations that tend to see employees burnt out. Why? Because healthcare, human services, and social activism, you're trying to help others. So what happens is there's an imbalance where you're servicing others and you're forgetting about yourself. And you might think that you're giving to yourself, but your body will let you know that you're not. And my body did. I came crashing down with negative feelings, but also aches and pains and feeling stomach aches because I was neglecting myself. When I would get downloads or messages to help humanity awaken or to experience something within themselves, I would forget about something that I'm supposed to do. You know, I can't tell you how messy I left my house get because I would run and make a video because I had a download. But see, that's the imbalance that happens with a service to others type of being. Sorry if I said service to self. Service to others. When you're giving to others, you forget about yourself. There's a balance that needs to happen. So when a burnout happens, that's a clear indication that you have not been balancing and giving to yourself. So what this is probably going to lead me onto my channel to do is that I will probably pull back a little bit so that I can always make sure that I am taking care of myself first before I try to extend myself outwards. And I would recommend that to anyone who is a light worker, who wants to help others. Remember your life. Remember yourself. Take care of yourself physically, emotionally. Take care of your house. Take care of your life before you try to help others. Because what will happen is that imbalance will come knocking on your door, and you will get it as an experience of, physical pain, emotional pain, and you'll just feel imbalanced. And that is really important for spiritual grounding. So that's why I probably had to go through this in order to really understand spiritual grounding techniques and how to balance. And I'll go more into spiritual grounding techniques and the balancing in my next video. So how did I start to heal this? How did I get to 75%? How did I go from 0% wanting to leave Earth to 75% where I can make this video now? How did that happen? What was that change? Well, I'll be honest with you. It took a lot of just laying around and doing absolutely nothing. Laying on my couch and experiencing a type of relaxation where I'm not doing anything for anyone else. I'm just enjoying my time. I also went for walks in nature, and I just was on my own, and I made sure that I didn't even take the dogs with me, because sometimes when I take the dogs, I'm also servicing the dogs and they're pulling me and wanting to go places. I made sure I did it on my own this time. I took a pause and a look at my own life to see what was it that I was giving too much of myself. Where was the imbalance happening in my life? Where can I pull back so that I could lower my expectations that I feel I need back from the world, and just experience myself as a giver and experience myself as a soul that enjoys to service others in this way and to be a spiritual, guide to others in need. So I needed to pull myself out of that, and I just paused, I stopped, I did everything just for myself. I also detached from negative comments. I started to learn and retrain my brain that I did not, I was not these things that these people said, but that it was coming from a place where I can't quite fathom, because I'm not that type of person, but it was coming from a place where they felt that they had the right to say those things to me. And that comes from a place of hurt and pain and envy and other types of emotions that I can't necessarily tap into unless I really wanted to focus on them. But it was time to not focus on them. It was time to focus on me. So my detachment from their negative comments and criticism needed to happen right away. So Lightworkers, heal that way. Detach yourself from those negative comments and just keep moving through the joy of giving and being a light on earth. Trying to spread your light and your joy and your awe, your wonderment in life. Keep doing that no matter what other people say about you. It does not matter, because in the end, this experience is about you. And yes, we have a collective, we are creating together, but in the end, when you die, when you leave this earth, it is between you and your creator source. Whatever you believe that to be, I'm going to let that sink with you to figure that out. But it's about you and how you feel about yourself as an infinite consciousness that is evolving and growing. And when you go back to the source, that's what you see and experience. So it doesn't really matter what the other opinions are outside in this world. It's about the inner world experience of life. And that's something that you have to remember, because as a Lightworker soul, you'll be so focused on the outward experience because you're trying to help others and you're trying to put yourself out there, service to others, service to others. But you have to remember to take care of yourself and remember that the experience is about you ultimately. Each one of us have our own spiritual experience to go through. And when you lay down at night, the big question that people must ask themselves is, if they want to evolve, is, are you able to sleep at night? You know, have you done the things during the day that will allow your consciousness to rest clearly and peacefully while you sleep and dream at night? And that's how death is. When you lay your head down from earth, it's very much like a dream in the next experience, where it's about your clear consciousness and being happy with yourself. That's what it's about. Are you happy with yourself? It's not about others' opinions. It's about you. And if you feel that the work that you have done and the effort that you have done and you've done your best, then that's all that really matters. And just remember that, because you're going to come across people that are going to be naysayers based on where they are in life. I'm going to tell you something I truly believe, and I'm going to be a big advocate of it on my channel. There is no such thing as evil and good. There is only unaware and aware states of consciousness. That's it. And the evil looks unaware. It's just unaware and not conscious of itself. Good is aware and conscious of the spirit that we all come from. So I started to heal because I started to follow my joy no matter what. I put down a life goal in a list form of all the things that I want to experience, regardless of the criticism, regardless of not feeling appreciated. It doesn't matter. It's about my personal experience. So write those goals down. What do you want to experience? Because like I said, when you take your last breath, it is about your happiness in this life that matters. Are you happy with the experience that you had on Earth? I started to see the world as something to experience my own becoming, rather than something to use it as a direct mirror of myself. So what I mean is that the criticism and the negative comments are not necessarily a mirror to who I am, because no, I'm not what they say. I'm not an idiot. I'm not like that. But that's coming from their personal perspectives. But it's not necessarily a mirror to me as a soul. But what it is a chance for me to move around those negative perspectives and understand who I really am, and get stronger in my core, to get stronger in my spiritual sense of who I am as a sovereign being, as a creator source. So I'm here to experience my own becoming, growing and experiencing myself as a creator source that's evolving, rather than something that's going to be affected by others that are creating their own type of creations and worlds. This is about me and my becoming, and that's about you and your becoming. So that helped me a lot. The other thing I did was I watched a lot of comedies. I sat down on my couch, and in between the TED Talks on burnouts and all these types of kind of psychological kind of understandings about emotional burnouts, I watched a lot of comedies. And one of the comedies that I watched, I think every light worker needs to watch. I'll talk about it more in my Mirrors of Reality videos series, because Our Idiot Brother with Paul Rudd is one of the most beautiful movies to me, because it's about a light worker. I love Paul Rudd, who he has this optimistic view of others, and he does things in a very like pure way, but he just sometimes makes a fool out of himself. And it's not because he himself is the fool, it's that others are uncomfortable with his vulnerability and his openness. And what happens is that people, like his three sisters, that's why it's called Our Idiot Brother, his three sisters actually realize that he's not an idiot at all. The more and more honest that they get with themselves, they start to see really who he really is. And it's a wonderful video for light workers, because I think light workers are called idiots in this world a lot. Naive, optimists or idealists, dreamers, idiots, whatever. It's the time, I think, that light workers are rising now to their courage and their strength. And I think for a very long time they were not seen this way. And there are even people today that are spiritual teachers that still talk bad about light workers. And I don't think that it's a flimsy type of word. I think it's a very strong word. And it's something that even religions have held on to. I mean, Christians believe that they're light workers for their God, and Muslims see themselves as light workers. It's a way of embodying a vision and an ideal of what you believe is going to help the collective. And no one light worker's vision is the same. But when you're honest and authentic with yourself as a light worker, you're going to be spreading the light. You're going to be spreading the truth. And that's why you can't really be a light worker until you discover you can be a light worker. Let's just say this. You can be a light worker. There are many, many souls on earth that are light workers, and they don't define themselves, and they don't even identify as being a light worker. They simply do their job on earth, and they are a light. But if you are unconscious of others, and you're unconscious of wanting to spread the light and help others, then it's going to be very hard. But the moment that you have a spiritual awakening or some kind of realization that you share this world and this experience with someone else, and when you see them hurting or suffering, then you're going to reach out to them with your light, and you're going to reach out in the world with your light, then that's when somebody really kind of takes on this occupation as a light worker. It's a secondary job. The next thing that helped me, besides watching comedies and just learning how to laugh at life again, and just learning how to see kind of the cosmic joke in things, I remembered my eternal light that is inside of me. In each of us, we have an eternal source of consciousness, which is light. That's what light means to me. So when a person is experiencing a burnout, it's a false idea of losing your light. You're fading your light. Oh, there's no more light to give. There's nothing left. It's a temporary kind of pause in your emotional pain body to show you that your light is feeling like it's fading. And one of the ways that you have to get back on track is that when you go through this experience, you start to remember, I have an internal light source, that there's nothing fading. Not really. It's eternal. It's an eternal flame. So you can never really have it fade away or lose it. And that's really important to remember, and that really helped me. The other thing I did was I decided to take more breaks and balance myself in my life. So I'm going to just remember that I'm going to need a little bit more breaks, make sure maybe I don't post as much or do videos as much. I'm just going to make sure that I'm really just kind of balancing my life in that way. And I think that light workers really need to do that. And those that also work in a job and they experience a burnout, it's about you taking that time. Take that 10-minute coffee break or walk outside for yourself. Don't sit there and do all the work that your boss gives you just because of a deadline. You need to make sure that you're being healthy for yourself and you're not just overextending yourself constantly for the sake of the job. Because in the end, what is a job really? If you're working towards a goal to help a corporation, that's fine. But there's a spiritual goal that you need to remember about yourself. What are you working towards spiritually for yourself? And I believe that when you can remember yourself in that moment of giving to others constantly, you can get past these burnouts. You can lower your expectations about the world and really just do your thing. Who cares what other people appreciate or don't? as long as you are happy with yourself, as long as you are happy with the work that you are putting out there and the efforts that you're putting out there, that's really all that matters. And that's why I will be back, because it doesn't matter how my channel is dying in terms of views. It doesn't matter whether people are criticizing me outside of it. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I keep on doing the work that I feel that I want to do, that makes me feel that when I leave this earth, I've done what I wanted to set out to do in the first place. And I believe that. I believe that when we all follow our joy, which leads me on to the next Pleiadian Wisdom of University classes, I'll be talking about that, because when you're following your joy, you're following your purpose. And when you're following your purpose, you can leave this earth feeling like you've done what you set out to do originally. And in a lot of ways that helps you advance spiritually, which is what I think every soul is looking to do. And to really move past the cycle, the birth, death, rebirth kind of cycle, the karmic cycle that Buddhists talk about, that humans get stuck in, is when they don't awaken and they're not conscious, they get pulled back to earth and they experience themselves in this kind of rebirth until they awaken through the process of just realization of how much in control they really are of their own destiny, of their own way that they want their life to go. So I hope that this helped you. I'm feeling, I think, 85% recharged now, just talking to you all, and just feeling like, you know, I went through this process so that I could start to really get to the core spiritually. What is a burnout? Why is this happening? To spiritual teachers and to light workers and to those that, you know, are constantly putting memes out there. I see you. You're on Twitter. You're doing all these things on social media, and you might get 30 likes. You know, and that's the thing about this world. Just keep this in the back of your mind. Those that do the spiritual work, the unseen type of work, are not going to be as appreciated in this world as those that are showing more of like this kind of material output. The reason is because the spiritual truth and the spiritual reality, it lies on the other side of this veil. So the things that you put out spiritually, you won't necessarily see, but there will be results, because all of your energy that you're extending out there, it really is a ripple in a pond. You're throwing a petal in, and it will eventually affect others. Even though you don't see it right now, it will. It really will. And that's just something that you just have to keep in mind. So I hope that this all helped you, and I will see you next on the devotion to joy and spiritual grounding technique videos, because I'm ready to go. I think I'm back, and I don't care what other people have to say. So I'll see you all soon. Take care.